Akash INTI, the real reflection of you. I'm on my way back from the pool right now, and I hit a personal best for the summer thus far, at least in a day, in terms of laps. I think it was like 50 plus laps today. And if you're a swimmer, you might be like, 50 plus laps, that's nothing. Or if you're not a swimmer at all, you're like, 50 plus laps, oh my gosh, I would have never been able to do that, right? Doesn't really matter is what it is in truth. That was one of the things that I realized while I was swimming today. I go to the public pool where I've grown up swimming. That's where I learned how to swim, actually. And while I was in the pool, it was so interesting just observing my mind in and of itself. That's one of the things that I love about swimming, is that sense of like just hearing what goes on in my mind and like observing it more than anything, right? I'll notice like that kind of like there's a little bit of a superiority complex about, oh, check me out, I'm the only one doing laps, no one else in this pool is doing laps, blah 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 blah, that type of sound in the mind. And then the other part of me that's like, well, no one really gives a shit, right? No one gives a shit that you're doing laps right now. It doesn't really matter. Why are you doing laps, right? So I'm hearing both sides of this mind, right? And then the other part of me that's observing all this is be like, okay, well, why do you care so much about check me out? And then why is it also like, well, it doesn't really matter. What's all that about? Why don't you just do your like laps? You know what I mean? Who cares if it's like whatever people say or all these things? But that still goes on in my mind, and that's me being truthful and being honest. It's funny because when I first started off, I was like, I almost had this moment where it was like a touching moment to me to some degree. It's like, and I don't even know, it was almost like this sense of like, I can't believe I have to do this, and check me out, persevering, you know what I mean? Like a sense of like, almost like, I don't know, it almost made me want to cry to some degree, which I don't even understand now. I mean, looking in retrospect, in the moment when I was swimming, it made so much sense, right? It was like, I can't believe I made it this far. I felt like I wasn't going to survive, and bam, here I am. That type of moment, and the level of like really almost like making me want to cry in the pool. I didn't, obviously, or maybe I did, and that's why my goggles were so foggy. I don't know. But then towards the end of it was like just continuing to go. It felt like I was just warming up. I felt like I was just starting and getting started, and then almost like this sense of like, man, I just felt like almost like an explosion of like just wanting to like tear, I don't know, someone to shreds, or like a real awakening of some type of beast within, of like, it's just so interesting just seeing the progression of it, right? And I only talk about this because it was something that was like really, really little fly. Really something that was really like poignant to me. It was an experience that was very visceral. Like I could really feel it deeply. And so that was one reason. And the other thing that was going on through my mind was I was listening to a lecture or something earlier today, and something along the lines of like, would you date you, right? Like, if I was a woman and I were to like view and observe me operating in life, like, would I want to date that person? And it's easy to be like, oh yeah, of course I would, right? And it's like, because I mean, like, people, like, who doesn't want to say that, right? Like, who doesn't want to say that they're not attractive? No one does. Everyone wants to be like, dude, check me out, I'm attractive as fuck. And perhaps there is an element to that, and I think that's really important to be like, oh yeah, I am attractive, or I am good looking, or I am living a life that's like, oh yeah, it's really interesting, it's engaging, it's very wise, it's very whatever, right? But then I also think there's a real element to it. It's like, well, what am I missing, right? What am I, and not in like oh man, like I'm missing things, I don't have it together. No, not like that, in the sense of like, where can I really improve, from a place of like, yeah, I'm pretty good, I've got a pretty solid package together, and if I looked at myself and I'd be like, yeah, I'm a pretty attractive guy, look at his resume, okay, he's been a couple places, he's done a couple cool things, a lot of blah, 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 right? In relatively good shape, seems to have a reasonable head on his shoulder, even though he can be a bit crazy maybe, or a little wild at times, but I kind of like that. Sure. But at the same time, what am I missing? Where am I like, what can I do to really sharpen that even more, right? What are the things that I can do? I mean, And I don't know, right? I think a lot of that comes down to the day-to-day living. What are the actions that I take? What are the decisions that I make in the moment? And really looking at the things that are uncomfortable, right? The things of like, maybe I'm sitting in my room and it's like, well, dude, you can, instead of sitting in your room doing nothing and maybe scrolling on social media, maybe in that moment you could open up whatever, something that you're studying and really just going through it one more time, writing down notes a little bit more, or really taking a little bit more action on maybe learning something, maybe trying out video editing stuff, or whatever, right? Whatever it is in that moment. Maybe do a little bit of yoga then. Maybe call up a friend and rekindle a relationship. I don't know what it is, but the point being, it's like in every single moment in my day, what am I really doing? And I can only say this because after doing those laps, after like really putting in some hard work, because it's not like, don't get me wrong, I enjoy swimming, I really do. But there's also an element to it that's like, it's overcoming, okay, I got to get in the pool right now and do some laps, you know what I mean? And just continue to go at it. It's like, oh, well, right around lap 40, it's like, okay, well, I did 40 laps. So I'm kind of done. I'm ready to be done. It's like, well, can you eke out another 10? Can you eke out another 12? What is your stopping point, At what point do you stop? What is that point for me? And truth be told, I could probably have done more laps for sure. Time is a factor for me as well. And I made a commitment to someone, and so I want to honor that. And yet at the same time, whatever, right? So my point being to myself really right now is like, where can I be a little bit better? Where can I be better? It's something that my younger brother says, which is really, really interesting because, I don't know, it's cool to be like, oh yeah, whatever, do this, right? But it's like, when is it really meant? Someone once told me, a wise man once told me, that it's not only the message that matters in the sense of like the words that are being said, it's the how it's being said. And that's something that continues to really stick with me, right? Because these are messages to myself, largely, on my own journey of exploring life and whatever I'm documenting. So that's what I got for you today, Akash INTI. That's really what I have, is just this story, this beingness, whatever I'm capturing right now on camera, on film, to the best of my ability. Keep up, thrive, and stay sexy.